Hello and welcome to the next episode of Two Girls Talk Transits. Today we're reviewing the astrology from August 31st through September 6th, 2025, and we're your host. I'm Maddie.
I'm Kaylee.
And welcome back. So we're gonna kick this week off on the 1st of September, which is the Monday, and that is when early in the morning Saturn returns to Pisces, retrogrades back into Pisces, and this will be our last time period of Saturn being in Pisces until February of 2025. And so that is going to be like the final wrap up of everything that's been going on with Saturn and Pisces for the past 2 years when it first entered in March of 2023. So, like, this is going to come back to those themes that were activated during that time, the past 2 years, but I also think it's going to feel a lot better because this time Saturn's being ruled by a Jupiter in Cancer versus it was ruled by a lot of the time period with a Jupiter in Gemini. So I wonder if that's going to feel a little bit better overall. But yeah, the themes of like boundaries and emotions and being more serious about how you structure your feelings about things, and it's less of a like action oriented Saturn and more of like, okay, how do we clean this up, Saturn? Oh.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll feel like a little bit of like a reprieve because Saturn has been being ruled by Mars. So I think with that aspect, it like is putting restriction on action. And I think like just with it moving back into Pisces for a little bit, I think we're gonna feel like freed up in like the action-oriented sense, especially since Mars doesn't have too much longer to spend in Libra and then it'll pop over to Scorpio where it's
Hmm.
in its domicile. So I think like the action-oriented part of life will feel a little bit easier than it has been feeling just over the past couple of months. And yeah, so I think also for people who had their Saturn return in Pisces and thought that it was completely over, we just have like one little dip back into
Yeah.
these before it's like completely said and done.
Yeah, it's not over yet, but it will be soon, but not yet. Um, yeah, I don't know. And I just like the fact that Jupiter will be trining Saturn and instead of a square. So there's like a little bit less conflict with it being here in Pisces. And yeah, I mean, it was like when we were at the Norwalk concert, that's when Saturn entered Aries and like at 5 p.m. And like I remember we were all like out in the courtyard of like the hotel and like everyone like cheered really loudly, but like I don't even know why because I feel like Saturn and Aries has sucked.
I know,
But
sucky. I think everybody like they like outer like when outer planet transits happen, I think people just get excited because like
right, it's so big. It's important, but yeah.
so like just symbolic of like things changing and we don't know, we can speculate how it's going to look, how like outer planet transits are going to look, but we don't really
Hmm.
know like the general feeling of it until we get there. So I think from
Yeah,
perspective, it could be like excited, but I don't really know. Hope it's better
right.
than Pisces.
The one thing I don't really like though is now Saturn is going to be brought into these eclipses.
Yeah.
Um, and like I just don't think that that's the most helpful energy. Like, if you're having like a lot of change happen under eclipses, but then Saturn's there, it's like all your structures are falling apart and changing too. And like, that's the most like detrimental change or the most impactful change. And then it's happening in like, like I feel like the Virgo Pisces axis is really about like healing and emotions and like feeling more connected with the world, but also being able to be in service to others. So it's like there may be more of that collective responsibility and like emotional pain that comes with Saturn being back in Pisces too. I feel like in Aries, people could easily just like cast aside other people's issues and just be solely focused on yourself. And like that's not necessarily the case when Saturn returns back to Pisces. I feel like there's just more of this collective weight
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
it.
see that. I also think like the Virgo Pisces axis is very symbolic of like what can you control and what can you not? Because
Yeah.
Virgo really likes to have control over things, and that's why Virgo is such a good healer because it can, see these small details and see what's wrong and, control things to heal it in some way. Um, Pisces is also like a super good healer. It just does it in a like totally opposite way. But
Right.
us, I think with like, as you mentioned, like bringing Saturn into the eclipses, like I think we're really, really being challenged with like this sense of control. Like, what do we have control over versus what do we not have control over? And especially pulling Saturn into that, it's like areas of your chart ruled by Saturn that are typically stable for your life are going to be hit with this like wave of instability, which is going
Yeah.
to shake up your life because you're going to be like, I thought I could rely on these things to be stable, like they always are, but then it like isn't as it usually is. So,
Right.
yeah, that can be
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah, yeah. It's not even it's really the like the last eclipse in Virgo that's like it's directly opposite by Saturn. And like
Yeah.
that's just like, oh, yeah, it's gonna be not comfortable.
No.
But
No, well,
no.
but I mean, nonetheless, I think, during like times of mass change, like our nervous system gets really like out of whack and like our cortisol levels spike and things like this. So, I think just in general, being aware that this energy is like coming up and like just having that like forethought about it. Like, okay, I know things are going to probably be like a little bit crazy. Doing what you can, leaning into the Virgo, control what you can, make yourself feel like safe and nurtured, whatever it is that you do. Organize your life as much as possible so that, when the uncontrollable comes in, you don't like, you know, crap your pants. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. We got a lot going on with that. Do you have anything else to say about Saturn?
No, I think we'll talk more about Saturn here when he gets aspected, so we'll come back
Yeah,
to it for sure.
definitely. So we do have Mercury entering Virgo on the following day. Okay. Which is great. Mercury's in its domicile here. It's
And
cool.
exalted.
Yeah, it is. It's exalted here. Um, so, the Mercury domains of your life should be quite happy and pleased. Having Mercury sitting in Virgo is like having the energy to take care of those tasks, to take care of like making lists and doing things that normally feel like it might be too much. Like, oh, I don't have the time to like take care of those like small little things. Now you have like the time and the space and you can like think more clearly. I think it's bringing like a lot of clarity to mental thought. The only thing here though is like as soon as it pops into Virgo, we have it squaring Uranus and Gemini.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's going to happen a little bit later on the same day. Um, so that's just bringing like some frustration. It's interesting that it's happening in like, I think we actually, did we talk about this last time during the podcast or
The
after?
mutables.
Yeah.
What that is happening in mutable signs, is that what you mean? Or like both of them being Mercury ruled?
Yeah, and like it always squares like the, Jupiter and, or I mean,
Yeah.
like,
The
well,
Mercury houses square each other, the Jupiter houses or signs square each other. Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit. Yeah, I I don't I one hand really like this and want to say something really positive about it because I we have Mercury in its best place. Um, but we also have Mercury squaring Uranus, who Mercury is ruling Uranus, so there is this little bit of like conflict of interest. But
mhm,
like it kind of speaks to the fact that like, okay, we're really into eclipse season. Like things are really going to start changing. And I do think this is like the initial spark of like, okay, things are really starting to change. And maybe with Mercury here, we're able to align with that idea more, even if it is creating a little bit of like, this is going too fast. There's too much information. Like I do think collectively Mercury squaring Uranus is going to suck for getting truthful information.
Yeah,
Because
I could, yeah.
like Mercury is a helpful planet. Like, it's like a neutral planet. It's neither a benefic or a malefic, and it's the one that can be on both sides. And like that's the joke with Mercury is the friend of all. It's the friend of your enemies and it's the friend of your friends. And like it's the really good, healer and worker, and it's also the thief and like, the secretive person. And so I just think that like information is just not going to be very clear.
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, it's kind of hard to know how to take Mercury. The way that you can know like how to interpret Mercury is by looking at its aspects and looking right there that we have that square to Uranus is like making it, I feel, on the more trickier side than it is on the more truthful side. So I could see definitely how we might have like some issues with like getting correct information in some way, but I feel like, this also highlights with the eclipse coming up. There's just huge changes happening with Mercury, with like your I always have a hard time saying that word, mercurial ruled houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
There's just like we have we have Uranus and Gemini, we have, Mercury and Virgo, we have the eclipses happening in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. There's just so much change happening in that area of life. And yeah, I think there's just going to be, it's going to look totally different, in the following months than it has looked previously. Um, so yeah, I mean, that can be something also to, expect with the energy.
yeah, I agree. Like it's I don't know. I mean, we want to reflect back to the new moon that we had in Virgo on the
The notice.
23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that was squaring Uranus. And so that will give you a taste of like what kind of like broke out. And so like I don't know, it was very disrupting, I think, for just everybody. I feel like there was a lot of change happening or like a lot of things going on. And then like that's where this Mercury is going to come back to that. And then somehow these events are going to play out into the eclipses coming up. And it's just, I don't know. I had things change for me. I think collectively, wasn't that when there was that tragic mass shooting
Oh, on the
in that
23rd.
in the church? Yeah.
Wait, in the church? I don't know about this. In the
In the
church?
Minneapolis. But I don't know if it happened more recently or not. But I thought it was associated with the 23rd. Hold on, I'm looking.
There was a,
You didn't see it was in a Catholic church. Two kids died and like 17 people were injured. And it might have happened a couple days after, but
no, I didn't see that.
oh well.
It was,
Yeah, it was I don't know, it was pretty bad. Yeah, and I just feel like but it's like, when we have these big mutable squares, I do feel like they bring in like a sudden snap. Like you had a plan, especially when it's Mercury will signs, it's like often our plan, right? Like we had a plan. We had an idea that this was definitely going to happen. This is when it was going to go. And like then all of a sudden it's like an instant information that changes that plan and it like something snaps and then like you suddenly switch into an entirely different direction and like it's a little bit of whiplash for a lot of people if you don't have mutable places. Like I don't have a lot of mutable energy. So for me, it was like hard to be like, oh, now I need to look at my life in a totally different direction than when I
yeah,
initially looked at it. And I just think that's what the eclipses are going to bring, and that's what this Mercury transit's going to bring.
yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I think this energy might be like culminating too, because I can definitely feel like already like some frustrations coming up and, just some, things like coming to a forefront. Yeah.
Yeah. So from there to build onto these squares, then is there anything else you want to talk about, or can we move on?
We move on. Good.
Yeah. Just to build onto this square. So of course, then on the 4th, that's when Mars in Libra is going to square Jupiter in Cancer on that Thursday, on Jupiter Day. And again, I just think there's another, again, like tension. Like these squares are just conflicts. Like the area in life that is naturally expanding and being supported, that we talked a lot about when Venus was in Cancer, that part of your life that's at least holding a little bit of stability and like comfort and abundance is now being challenged by some of the actions that you want to take in a different area of your life. And like those two are kind of conflicting because in cardinal signs, they have different goals about what they want to start. Jupiter in Cancer wants to start comfort and home and like nurturing, and Mars and Libra wants to start action socially and making change or fighting for justice and like and so I just feel like these two can get like a little bit out of hand with your actions too. Like Jupiter sometimes in the overcoming position, is like overindulgence or taking things too far, or like going too far with something. And like because it expands no matter what. So if it's expanding Mars, like it's expanding somebody who's creating a lot of conflict socially, or like has to be so hard fighting for justice, like nothing else matters, and it like just gets out of hand. Like, and that could almost be triggered by the Mercury Uranus square, because it's like, oh, you got this big idea that changed, this big belief that changed, and now you're like, okay, so now I have to rush and take all these actions, and now you're like overexpending your energy, and it's getting in the way of just creating stability in your life. I don't know how you feel
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I think the same. I think it is like as a whole, just giving like some challenge and frustration and instability. I think too, I mean, it's very like indicative of like what happens after a big change too. It's like, or, during, like things get shaken up and it's not always like a comfortable process. Like, things start to fall away, or, relationships don't go the way that we thought that they would. And, it like if you think about it, like let's just pull in like a breakup, for example, is like a thing where a big change would come into play. It's like when you break up with the person, not only do you break up with them, you break up with their friends, you break up with their family,
Mm,
break up with your home life. Like there's all these areas of your life that are like falling apart just because you chose that one thing to break up with the person. It's like there's all these other things that come along with it that maybe you didn't like realize at the forefront, but as you're moving through these changes, you're like, shoot, like it's actually affecting this area and it's affecting that area. And like, there's just a lot of things related to it that maybe you didn't realize before. So I think that could be like where this Jupiter Mars square comes in. It's like realizing there's actually a lot of like social components to it. Maybe you didn't
mm,
realize like it's related to your home in some way, or you have to, I think, look at your own chart to be a little bit more clear on what the themes are going to be. But um, it's just tying that extra thread in that you didn't know would have a challenge associated with it.
right. Yeah. Like if you cut away from something, if that's what Mars is bringing up for you, and you like cut away, you then realize, oh, a lot of things in my life are being cut away right now, then too. And like it
Yeah.
can be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of felt like that. Like recently, I quit my job and I kind of thought, like, oh, I'm just quitting, my relationship with them, but I miss my clients so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, dang it, like I don't get to like work in that. Like I worked for like drug court stuff and I just like loved doing that. So like it cut off like that aspect of it, like working with the courts and cut off my clients. Like a lot of things came with it that I'm like sad to lose. Um
Right.
so yeah, it can just be like very similar experience to that. But yeah, I mean it won't be obviously a strain forever. It's like just in this singular day, and I think also one
Yeah.
the 2 days before it, we feel a little bit of strain, but um
Yeah. Yeah, I just think like this week with just these squares are just really showing like where the conflicts are sitting in your life, and it isn't necessarily like an end all be all, but it's just showing you where the tension points are, and that like those things are going to be brought up in the eclipse, and it's just like this gathering the information into it, like where something may have to compromise.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of giving also like where you thought you could be hopeful, maybe
Yeah, and you're not.
is like, oh, actually can't be so.
Actually, you were wrong. You can't do that anymore. You are too delusional. Sorry.
Yeah, and on the same day, I don't think we noticed, but the moon also is conjunct Pluto, which will be like a
Oh, yeah, great point.
little extra intensity added to the whole mix. Um, so that'll be a fun day. Um,
I
but
did want to throw in a correction real quick as the shooting happened. Actually, literally the day before we're recording this, so the 27th, which was around the Venus Pluto opposition, though. So nice.
wait, when did it happen? Yesterday?
Yeah, the shooting.
Oh, well, that makes sense why I didn't hear about it yet then. Um,
Yeah,
dang it.
I know. I don't know. And I go, it's weird it was happening under a Venus Pluto opposition, but like the moon too is coming in a square when squaring both Venus and Pluto. So it triggered that. So I don't know. Yeah, the moon meeting Pluto on this day is not a great sign.
Yeah, I think it just adds extra intensity to the whole mixed bag.
Mm. Right. So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, that
I
was
always,
it.
I
Go ahead.
always like looking at my chart whenever the moon is freaking on Pluto. Like I always am like, what's gonna happen on this day? And it's always like the moon is with Pluto, and I'm like, seriously? So, but it's not so bad. It's just kind of like huge change or like, you know, not
No,
huge, some kind of significant shift in some way.
I get a lot of like really dark dreams when the moon's interacting with Pluto. Yeah.
I think I actually struggle to sleep on those days more than anything.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like maybe if I did sleep, it would be horrible anyways. I don't know.
Protecting yourself.
Yeah, you shan't go to the dreamlands today. Um, okay, last one we have is on the 6th. Uranus is stationing retrograde. So this happens for about 6 months every year. I feel like, we would feel it the most on the day that it stations. Um,
Yeah.
Also, when it begins making any aspects to your personal chart and to, the collective transits, or it's gonna like spike some things. So it's gonna be back here until it actually, no, it'll be in Gemini until it retrogrades back into Taurus in early November. So we've
Mm,
still what is it? It'll be September when this is. So we've got still like 2 months of it hanging out in Gemini in the retrograde position. So yeah, just like retrograding back, I feel like the themes of like Uranus and Gemini are going to come up, maybe to reflect on a little bit more. What has that meant collectively? How have we been experiencing that? So, yeah, what do you want to say about it?
yeah, I mean, I just think it speaks to everything else that we've been having this week as like just all the squares, the changes that are happening, and then you're on a station retrograde, and then that's always a day of like more shocking change or sudden for it being in a Gemini, like sudden information disruptions and sudden like changes in communications or like a backtracking potentially of something that was groundbreaking information gets backtracked. Like, I mean, I think a lot about like the Epstein files of like Uranus being in Gemini, but then like you saw, I don't know, there's all these rumors that like the FBI is redacting Trump's name out of all of the Epstein files. So like Uranus stations retrograde and they released the Epstein files, but they redacted the actual people's names that we need to see, like,
Mhm.
that would be that experience. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It might. And then so I called it, but just say, um, but like, information like that kind of like backtracking and it's shocking and it's frustrating. And it's like, again, this is literally the day before the eclipse. So we are definitely leaving this podcast on like a really nice cliffhanger for y'all. So you're welcome. But um this is the day before the eclipse. And so it's like right when the eclipse happens, and the eclipse is always crazy change. So it just seems like this is like the most ungrounded eclipses that we're getting, even though it's like we have all these planets in Virgo. Like it's just not great.
I know, yeah, and the moon is gonna like pop into Pisces and also square Uranus that day. So we just have like a
Right.
nice square coming up. So it's like square after square after square, and then a huge, eclipse coming.
Eclipse.
Yeah, so yeah, I think this week in general is probably going to be pretty uncomfortable. Like if I had to call
Yeah.
it, I'd say like the baseline is probably discomfort in some way.
We better pre-plan our podcast recording so we don't get caught up in this.
Oh, yeah, or else it'll happen. Well, during the eclipse.
But yeah, I mean, I just like I don't know. I've been really like watching the transits for September a lot, and I've been really watching this week a lot, and I just been like, oh, I don't know. I mean, you really just have to be flexible and you really have to check your expectations. At least that's what I noticed for me under the last new moon in Virgo that was squaring Uranus, was that like I had certain expectations and Uranus was like, oh, well, those were a joke. So try again, and like just really be mindful if you are expecting something to like happen, like maybe release that and just kind of let things happen.
Yeah, yeah, definitely expectations could definitely fall short or just be completely different from what you thought they would. I mean,
Yeah.
Uranus is just unexpected energy, so it's just like expect the unexpected would be,
Right.
or just have no expectations at all and just kind of observe and be like, wow, that was interesting.
It's the best. That's the best way. The best way is to be detached, right? But we cannot always be detached. And we're humans and we have attachments and we want to feel comfortable. But
I know. Yeah, I know. We always do want to feel comfortable. But yeah,
yeah.
well, we welcome the eclipses next week. We'll talk all about it in the following podcast. But for this
Hmm.
week, yeah, I mean, you got the vibe. I think
Yeah.
just do what you can. I don't know what else. Yeah.
We did good. All right. Well, we will, if you want more content from us, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Two Girls Talk Transits. You can watch our YouTube videos at Two Girls Talk Transits as well. And we will see you all next week for our Pisces lunar eclipse.
See you.
Bye.